speech by Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum in Davos, a large part of it dedicated to detailing his mission for Greenland, saying he needs Greenland. He's ready to enter negotiations to acquire or buy Greenland, which seems to be a slight scale down from the earlier flexing of military muscle. But this is a series of mixed signals that Trump has sent out as far as his intended conquest of Greenland. I want to get first reactions from India's biggest news crew on the ground in Davos. Vishnu Shom joining me live. Vishnu, what did you make of what Trump has just said? Would you see this as him reiterating, staying on track as far as Mission Greenland is concerned? He said a whole bunch of other things, but Greenland's front and center.
You know what, Shiv? Here's what he said. You can say yes in terms of America's plans to acquire Greenland, or you can say no, and we will remember. To me, that entire spiel of his on Greenland boiled down to that. And I think I share your assessment when you said that he's come down just a notch. Now, he's not ruled out the use of force per se. Everything may be on the table, but he wants to negotiate and he wants to talk. But the fact of the matter is this: Greenland is absolutely central to his goals for American security. And he's clear that we have done enough for you, Europe and NATO. It's time you repaid us.
And Vishnu, you know, in a week where Trump has publicly berated, Norway, the United Kingdom, France, many of his closest NATO allies, he seemed to have, acquired a bit of a softer tone now that he's in the room with all of those leaders. He said, I like this person, I like that person. He used that personal touch to talk about them as well. This was signature Trump in that sense.
Well, yes and no, Shiv. On the one hand, he made fun of Emmanuel Macron. He often mimics the way that Macron speaks with in English with his distinctive French accent. So he also spoke about how on earth or why on earth did Emmanuel Macron walk in with sunglasses, which is what he did at the World Economic Forum. But there was a stern message for Mr. Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada. He says that you should watch what you say. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he meant. And I think he went further to say that, Canada has a great deal that it owes to the United States just by virtue of its existence. Yes, I mean, he didn't directly target other European leaders. He said the Danish people were great people. But basically what he said that is this: no one can secure Greenland other than the US. We saw this in World War II after Denmark fell after 6 hours of fighting. We sent forces to hold Greenland in World War II. We set up bases in Greenland. It's a big, beautiful piece of ice. Without you, in Europe, in World War II, you would be speaking German and Japanese. So his message was quite clear that, look, we have done whatever it is that we can as a nation, the most powerful, the United States, and NATO owes us a lot more, and that isn't happening, and that's not recognized. So you cannot take advantage of us, you cannot ignore what we are trying to say, and the reason we want Greenland is for security, not just of America, but its Western allies.
There was a sort of twin track to what he was saying, Vishnu, and you and I have been tracking this for the last few days as well, which is that Europe in some ways owes America Greenland and the security that the United States under NATO actually provides. He said it more than once that it's the United States that makes up and pays for NATO. And he also insinuated pretty directly that Europe has pretty much failed to keep Russia and China at bay, specifically in the Arctic. And that's the reason why he needs and wants Greenland, except that now he's willing to negotiate and enter talks with European powers who he, quote unquote, loves very much at a civilizational level. So what are we, I know it's difficult to guess anything in Trump's world, but what are we likely to see next? Delegation level talks? Trump going to Greenland? Trump going to Denmark?
Shiv, this is what he said today. I don't know what he's going to say tomorrow. But if we focus on what he said today, and that's because I just can't answer your question because I dare say no one can. What he did say about Greenland is, after the Second World War, we were stupid to give back Greenland. These were his words. We face threats from weapons that people cannot even think about or talk about. Greenland is mostly underdeveloped. It's sitting undefended in a key location. We need rare earths for security interests, American and international. It is a national security interest of the United States, which is why he's absolutely clear that Greenland has to be acquired. Now, he didn't say that American soldiers were going to go in. He didn't want to talk about it, but his overall objective remains the same.
Vishnu, I don't know if you can still hear me. Okay, Vishnu can't hear me. I'm going to go back to him in just a moment while we reconnect with that. Rahul Kavala, editor-in-chief, will also be joining us in just a moment. Tamanna Inamdar, managing editor, NDTV Profit, is tracking the handful of Indian CEOs who are going to be in that room with Trump at that reception, perhaps being able to actually speak to him. But just a quick, small little reminder of the operative part of what Trump said about Greenland. Just listen into this and then we'll get our editors back in.
Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory, sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle. Wasn't important nearly when we gave it back. When we gave it back, it wasn't the same as it is now. And just to get to this rare earth, you got to go through hundreds of feet of ice. That's not the reason we need it. We need it for strategic national security and international security.
Vishnu still with me in Davos. Our editor-in-chief, Rahul Kaval, and managing editor, NDTV Profit, Tamanna Inamdar, are also with me. Tamanna, I think you've got Rahul with you as well. I want to quickly come to you. They're at the venue where Trump's just given this speech. What's the mood there? What are the reactions to Trump's big speech? Everyone must be talking about what Vishnu and I were talking about, Tamanna. Was this a scale down? Was this an escalation? What do you think?
I think Shiv, he gave us all the greatest hits. So Macron, Greenland, of course, Powell, Canada, Mark Carney. I don't think anyone was really spared. Tariffs, oil, how great America is, the great defense that they have, NATO. I think all of those things, those boxes were ticked. To me, one of the big headlines coming out of here is him saying that I want to start a conversation about the position of Greenland. We don't want to use force. I don't want to use force. But talking about some of the reactions, I was speaking to a couple of CEOs who walked out of here nodding their head, just trying to wrap their head around what they have actually experienced. And we're the only channel who's live out of here, so you're really getting that bird's eye view. So I don't know if Kshitij can really show you a wide shot. If you see that Congress Hall there, behind these doors is where Donald Trump is still speaking. He's actually in a Q&A session that is going on, and you have journalists waiting all around, maybe just for a glimpse of him. It's very unlikely that he will come out of those doors into this crowd. He came in a helicopter and walked a red carpet in the white snow while getting into this place. So that's not going to be the case when he comes out as well. But you're seeing this cheek to jowl, completely packed to listen to the man who's inside right now. And nothing really has changed. He's definitely not going down.
Tamanna, what about those Indian CEOs, who are part of that reception for Trump? Have they already met him? Are they meeting him now?
No,
They'll be meeting him later?
That's in an hour from now. That's in an hour from now.
Tell us
and he's
about
overrun.
that. Who all are going to be meeting him? What's that going to be like?
So he's overrun on time as well. So this was supposed to be a 45-minute speech. It's gone on for an hour and a half. So maybe it's 5 p.m. with these delegates, and not just Indian CEOs. There are nearly 200 people, and 7 of them are Indian. We broke that story first. I've had a chance to catch up with a few of them informally through the day as well, and we'll get their voices after that meeting. So that is still on schedule as of now at 5 p.m. It's going to be more of a one-way street. It's very unlikely there's going to be conversation about Indian business specifically, but that's something we're looking forward to covering as well.
Okay, Tamanna, I'm going to let you go so you can speak to some of the people there at that venue. It's going to be very interesting. Maybe get a glimpse of Trump when he comes out as well. Vishnu, there was one just passing sort of reference to India in the context of India, Pakistan and the war, one of many wars that Trump has stopped. But, you've been in Davos for a few days, large Indian contingent, India obviously looking very closely, listening very closely to what Trump has to say. How, in your view, would the Indian government, sort of Team India, be looking at what Trump has said today?
Well, Chip, before I answer your question, can I just say that I do know one leader or one business leader who's going to be meeting President Trump now, Jensen Huang, who told me that himself. I just met him, the NVIDIA chief, and if we are talking about the most powerful people in the world, there's a fair case that he might be one of them. Yeah. Certainly seems to be the case. But to answer your question on India's leaders over here, some of them as part of a larger delegation will be meeting the US president. As far as the reference to India and Pakistan are concerned and how Trump claims to have won or ended the war between India and Pakistan, that's something New Delhi just doesn't respond to.
Yeah.
There has been a response. The Prime Minister spoke about it in Parliament in June last year. And beyond that, Delhi is not going to be responding to every single instance in which Donald Trump makes his claim of the war having ended. It didn't end that way. I was in briefings the day it did end. I know the exact situation in which it took place. It was the Pakistani DGMO, Director General of Military Operations, called up his Indian counterpart and said, look, we want a ceasefire. I won't get into that right now, but that's the way it happens. So Trump can say what he wants, right? And of course there were conversations with the Americans, no doubt about it, but he didn't end the war. Pakistan ended the war because they couldn't sustain it.
Vishnu, even though this speech by Trump has gone on way longer than scheduled, he's still answering questions inside that hall. Let's just listen in for a moment.
We have Jared. I got so many people. I'm in trouble because when I go back, they're going to be people with long faces. Sir, you didn't introduce me. I got so many people. And we have a lot of the greatest people anywhere in the world. I know them all. So I won't continue because we'd be here all day.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also know that you're a deal maker, and then maybe coming back to Greenland and Ukraine. What kind of deal in the end do you see between the U.S. And Denmark? Because, I guess you see it now as a negotiation going on, or?
Well, it's costing Denmark hundreds of millions a year to run it. And Denmark's a small country and wonderful people. But, it's very expensive. It's a very big piece of ice. And it's very important. I mean, I don't want to repeat the speech, but it's very important that we use that for national and international security. That can create a power that will make it impossible for the bad guys to do anything against the perceived good ones. And it's a great block for Europe. Just like, Denmark was supposed to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. They didn't spend the money. They didn't spend anything almost. And we'll see what happens. I just say this. NATO has treated the United States of America very unfairly. We never asked for anything. We never got anything. We actually took care of the needs of NATO for years and years, which I felt was always unfair. So I got NATO to pay because they're rich countries. But I think it's time that NATO step up. We're helping them with Ukraine. Without us, I think Putin would have gone all the way. I think we have it. I think that could have been a World War III, if you want to know the truth. If Kamala was elected, or Joe, any one of those, those thinkers, I think you could have ended up in World War III. And I will say Steve Witkoff has been dealing incredibly with, but we're not going to have World War III. We want to get it stopped, but we're not going to have World War III. I think if I wasn't elected, I think that could have evolved into World War III. It was a very, very bad situation. And it still is, but it's not that kind of bad. It's bad because so many young people are being killed.
How close do you think there is on an agreement on Ukraine? I had the pleasure of speaking with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner yesterday. I know they're working hard on it. I know that they're also traveling now. Do you see this very close or still?
Well, I hate to say it. I thought that was going to be so. I settled 8 wars plus. And I thought that was going to be one of my easier ones. Not the easiest. Some I settled in a matter of hours because I'm good at that stuff. The United Nations should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing it, but it doesn't matter. It's got to get done, saving a lot of lives. We're saving millions of lives. With Ukraine, Russia, there's tremendous hatred between President Zelensky and President Putin. That's not good. That's not good for settlements. We know from dealing. There's abnormal hatred. With that being said, I think Russia wants to make a deal. I think Ukraine wants to make a deal. And we're going to try getting a deal done. I think, Steve, I can say that we're reasonably close. What happens is oftentimes we'll have a deal with Russia. Russia's set, and President Zelensky will not do it. You saw that when he was in the Oval Office. I was not happy. And then we'll have President Zelensky who wants to make a deal, and Putin doesn't want to make the deal. It's a very difficult balance, and it's big time, and it is, to use a word, it's a bloodbath. It's horrible what's happening. It's a drone war. The drones are killing, thousands of people a week, thousands. We have to get it stopped. So I believe they're at a point now. I'm going to meet with President Zelensky later today. I believe they're at a point now where they can come together and get a deal done. And if they don't, they're stupid. That goes for both of them. And I know they're not stupid. But if they don't get this done, they are stupid. So I don't want to insult anyone, but you got to get this deal done. Too many people are dying. It's not worth it.
President Sisi is sitting on the first row here. He spoke earlier today and also complimented you on the Gaza deal. I think there will be a signing tomorrow. Of course, there are different views on this, but how important do you think this signing is on the board of peace? And do you think this is going to sustain? Do you think we now will see Gaza reconstructed and the billions of US dollars invested?
I do. I think we have peace in the Middle East. There are some little situations like Hamas, and Hamas has agreed to give up their weapons. Now, they were born with a weapon in their hand, so it's not easy to do. When they were born with a rifle in their hand. It's not an easy thing for them, but that's what they agreed to. They've got to do it. And we're going to know, Jared, over the next 2 or 3 days, certainly over the next 3 weeks, whether or not they're going to do it. If they don't do it, they'll be blown away very quickly. They'll be blown away. We have 59 countries that are part of that whole peace deal. And some of those countries aren't even they're near the Middle East, but they're not in the Middle East traditionally. And they want to come in and take out Hamas. They want to come in. They want to do whatever they can. There's a problem with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and we'll see what happens there. But that's a problem. But there are these little flames, but there's peace in the Middle East. Now, had we not gone in and knocked out with those big, beautiful, we just ordered 25 brand new ones, the latest and the greatest, the B-2 bomber. Think of them, they went in there at 2 o'clock in the morning with no moon, no light, no nothing, and every single one of those massive bombs hit its target, 100,000-pound bombs hit its target, every one of them. And then on top of it, from a submarine 300 miles away, we hit the sites with tomahawks, which is an unbelievable weapon. So, we did our job. If we didn't do that, you would have never had peace in the Middle East. And the countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar could never have, and others could never have signed anything because you would have had this dark cloud, and the dark cloud was Iran with nuclear. Iran would, if we didn't take them out, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 months. They were very close to having the nuclear weapon, and we hit them hard. And it was a total obliteration. If they may try again, but they're going to have to try from a different area because that area was obliterated. Incredible thing we did. And because we did that, we were able to make peace. If we didn't do that, I would say, Jared and Steve, if we didn't do that, there was no chance of making peace because the countries I just named and other countries could have never signed off. They were afraid. They were afraid. We had a bully. The bully was Iran, the bully of the Middle East. They used to call it for years. They were the bully of the Middle East. They're not the bully of the Middle East anymore.
Mr. President, I know you even had to change plane last night, so I guess you didn't have much sleep, but I think but your energy is still there. I know you have several bilateral meetings. I know you're also hosting a reception. So thank you so much for coming back to Davos. Thank you so much. It's highly appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that was the big Q&A with Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum. I want to get some first reactions from here in India because India is also looking very closely at Trump's words. India, remember, is embroiled in a trade dispute right now with Trump, and therefore India is very much interested in what Trump's actions are going to look like in Europe and Greenland and elsewhere as well. Let's get some first reactions. Joining me live, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, one of India's foremost geopolitics commentators. Anjana Shankar is an international journalist. Abhijit, quickly to you first. What did you make of Trump's speech? Has he softened down just a little bit, with all of those people in the room, or do you think he's just extended what he's already been saying?
Look, it was just as bombastic as we've ever heard him, if not so more. But let's be very clear, this is the most honest speech I've ever heard by an American president, because he said the quiet parts out loud. Obama, Biden, they all wrap up the most vile actions, regime change, corruption, whatever, in altruistic terms. This guy doesn't pretend to be anything that he's not. He is what America is. Obama is what America pretends to be. Right. So I'm very grateful for that. I did think there were very important things that he said, restated important things. First thing was, I think something bad is going to come to Canada right now, because he was very nasty about Carney and the Canadians in general. Yeah. Macron, I think, has handled his relationship better. He's making fun of Macron. He's making fun of the conjunctivitis, yes, that he has, and the sunglasses. Carney, this is something, Shiv, where, the opposition's been telling Modi, you need to stand up, stand up, stand up. This is the kind of Krishna Menon style petulance that gets applauded but doesn't get your country what it wants in the final analysis. To quote Richelieu, a statesman can't afford to have ego.
Yeah.
And I think this is a pointer of a lot of things to come now.
Very interesting. And, I had that same point that I wanted to make if this speech hadn't gone on for so long, about how India has, in some ways, this is, of course, a developing story, but India has in some ways navigated and handled this a whole lot better than Trump's closest allies. So there's a lesson perhaps to learn there. Anjana, your perspective, you've traveled to most of these countries that Trump's got his eye on right now. Nobody knows where he's going next, but at least he's softened a little bit from saying, I'm coming for you with this huge military, to saying, I want to negotiate and I have civilizational ties and I'm half Scottish and I'm half German and I love Europe and things like that.
First of all, let me thank Abhijit for saying what I was just about to say, that, what you get from Trump is, what he puts it out.
Yeah.
But, having watched Trump, all of us, the kind of unpredictability that comes with Trump, I will not absolutely count on this toned down approach that he has given at this stage. Maybe tomorrow you will see a tweet or a message on his Truth Official, which completely nullifies what he said in a very aggressive tone about military intervention. So I will not take it on face value. One specific remark that he said, because I'm coming from the Middle East, where he spoke about Iran. And, Iran is very much the hot button political topic now. We don't know what he's going to do. He was at the verge of having a military intervention, and then we pulled back. He said he's completely obliterated nuclear capacity of Iran, which, some commentators on this side and Iran itself, they don't agree with that claim, because Iran has kept building its ballistic missile capabilities. We don't know how far those jets have, obliterated it. So I'm wondering, when he says, I have obliterated it, is he hinting that he's not going to go ahead with Iran, because Iran is not such a huge threat, because it's not a nuclear power. It cannot destabilize the region. So I don't know if you want to read between the lines and guess, is Trump hinting at the fact that, okay, I have rested that case, at least for the time being?
Very interesting take. I'm going to go across to Rahul Kavala, editor-in-chief, who's live with us from the venue where Trump was just speaking and took all those questions as well. Rahul, long speech, longer than expected. What did you think? Do you see Trump dialing it down, or has he escalated? What's the mood there?
Shiv, I'm shocked that you're even asking that question. This is coming to the World Economic Forum and digging a dagger into the heart of Europe. Trump here at the World Economic Forum, everybody exiting right behind me, staking claim to Greenland. This is as open a claim as can be staked. This is neo-imperialism, if ever there was one. Remember, this is the epicenter of the globalization project, the World Economic Forum, as in he's coming here. He says, I don't care about your rules. I don't care about the rules-based order. I want Greenland. Let's begin negotiations. And he's made that quite clear. Let's just try and catch some of the reactions from the people who are just walking out here. Especially those who come from European countries. There was just so many world leaders in listening. They were looking gobsmacked as we saw those reactions. Their faces were ashen. They were completely spooked by what they were hearing, because it started for a long while in the beginning with Trump talking about the economy in the United States, and that was reasonable. That wasn't particularly problematic. And then he just pivoted to Greenland. He obviously drew vicarious pleasure in the way he spoke about Greenland. He's also always obsessed with how people react to what he's saying. That's the most important thing. He's always obsessed with how people are reacting, what they're making of his address. He's already got in his mind a reaction that's already playing out. So on Ukraine, he's saying that basically when Zelensky wants a deal, Putin doesn't want one. At this moment, Zelensky is happy having a deal and Putin isn't agreeing. So that's what he's saying. But the key feature and the key focus was really on Greenland, where he take claim, asked for negotiations to begin, far from dialing down. There's some rules about where we can and cannot stand. So I'm a bit wary of going straight in, but I see some other people doing that. So let's just try our luck, Shiv, and if this just gets disconnected, the perils of trying to do live television. So let's just try and get some reactions from folks as they come out and try and understand from them what they made of this big address. They were very, very scared listening to the president. They were also hugely concerned about the message that he'd bring. And as these reactions happened, a huge amount of concern also about what happens next. I know for a fact, Shiv, that after this he'll also be meeting a whole bunch of businessmen, not just American, not just Indian businessmen, but global businessmen. Can I ask Yusuf Ali from the Lulu Group, sir, what did you make of President Trump's address? You're one of the big businessmen in India, in the UAE. You heard the president speak. What did you make of his address? What was the highlight for you? What concerned you the most?
What did you make of his address? Most of his time is he did speak about
business. He also spoke in a very transactional fashion, almost like a real estate operator talking about, who makes an effort for property that is leased. We want to own it. There has to be a document which says that we've owned it. It can't just be on lease. And therefore, that's the claim that he's taking. He's not asking for a long lease. He's actually hoping, hi, can I just bother you for a second and get your thoughts on what you made of the address from President Trump? This is NDTV. We're an Indian news network. What do you make of the president's address?
I thought it was a very unfortunate speech by an unbefitting American president. It's one thing for the United States to depose an undemocratic leader like Nicolas Maduro in a stolen election. It's another thing to browbeat and bully a close ally into submission, and not only do that, but do so in the most humiliating way imaginable. I think it does real damage to transatlantic relations, and I think our relationship as a country with Europe is much more valuable to our security than legal title over Denmark, where, as it is, we already have free reign to defend ourselves and use our military there as we see fit. So I think even though there was polite applause in the audience, this will be a very bitter pill in the mouths of many of our European friends, and particularly friends like Denmark, who have in fact stood very closely with us, whose soldiers have died alongside American soldiers in places like Afghanistan. The United States is a powerful country, and one of the responsibilities and power is to exercise it with dignity and grace and in a way that comports with our moral standards, not just our ability to impose our will through fear and force. Well, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But what I think I heard the president say was that his willingness to support NATO, and perhaps particularly when it comes to Ukraine, is contingent on the Europeans playing ball and ceding Greenland. And I think that's a terrible way of going about it, not least because our strategic interest as Americans is to ensure Russia's defeat in Ukraine. But the best way in which the Russians can strengthen themselves is to see the division of NATO, which is happening before our eyes. So even though, whether or not the United States ends up acquiring Greenland, the price we're going to pay in NATO's collective resolve and its willingness to act as a coherent alliance may be very considerable. And I don't know why any European country would trust us with their security if this is the way in which this or future presidents are going to play.
Thank you very much, Bestie.
Thank you.
Appreciate your thanks. That's just one reaction. We tried to have it read it. Thank you so much. I think someone should write it. He was very, very concerned about what they've got going on.
Message at all. And, it also shows, Shiv, how, as is the case often in India, here as well, pundits typically tend to get this wrong. So many pundits who track the Prime Minister often get wrong what he's likely to say. And I heard that with so many senior editors from leading newspapers in Washington comment about how they thought that he may actually go contra to expectation, not dial up tensions, in fact, look to dial them down. He's actually come and really pushed tensions far further up. Far from trying to dial down, he's actually pushing tensions up. And that, again, is a concern because he's now making an open stake for Greenland. He's now hoping for an open stake for Greenland rather than trying to dial things down. And as you're saying, people here trying and wrap their heads around what happens next. No one is quite certain just at this moment. They're all trying to figure out what happens next and what President Trump will do. He does have, his contingent, and you heard him refer to that, Shiv, in that address. He's got a lot of his key ministers here, a lot of the bureaucrats here, and also the fact that while he's got them here, he'll also be doing a whole bunch of meetings now. So his agenda actually just begun. He's created this clutter. He's got bilateral meetings taking place. In addition to those, he also has a whole bunch of group meetings taking place where he's going to be meeting these people and trying to understand from them. Can I just try and get a sense from you of what you made? No problem. So trying to now meet these leaders, the business leaders, the political leaders, and then really behind the scenes is where we'll actually find out what happens because he's kind of stake claim. And remember, in the true form of being a New York land broker, he's used to tough negotiations. I think Borgia Brande referred to that, saying that you've thrown your opening gambit in this negotiation, saying you want ownership of Greenland. What happens next? How do we negotiate? So he did ask that question. Obviously, Trump didn't answer it on air. Let's see, Shiv, what happens next. Ma'am, can I ask you what you made of the Trump address? Okay, so some people vary. And also remember, this is not just the kind of address where you can say, tic-tac, because he said the kind of stuff that he has. People have very deeply entrenched positions on this, and also all of it linking back very closely to their countries, to their nationalities, and therefore choosing to be careful in what they say and not say on public. If the moment the cameras go off, people very willing to speak